South by Ernest Shackleton. This is a Folio Society edition. So it comes with a slipcover, kind of a box really, because it's not just this one volume by Shackleton, but another one as well. Well, another 2 volumes, but another book that happens to be split into 2 volumes. So we'll do another video for the other one, but this is South. Shackleton he led a couple of expeditions to Antarctica. He was on a third, but he led a couple. And this is his second one. Both of the expeditions that he led failed in their main mission. But the stories are great. So let's have a look at this as an object. I think it's very pretty, the silver treatment here. And then it's got the silver on top. And a ribbon, which I love. I love it when books come with ribbons. And Folio Society, that's one of the things that they're usually a little slack on. But they do it in this case. It is Smith-sewn, of course. The pages are not glued. They're not going to come out. It is acid-free paper. When you open the book, the spine doesn't crack. You know, it stays pristine. So it looks like a bigger book than it is in content. It's only 350 pages or something, but it's a pretty hefty book. And part of the reason for that is the number of illustrations that are set in plates. They're not, I suppose they're illustrations, but they're photographs taken by the expedition photographer. There are also some hand-done sketches to sort of show, oh, well, here's where we were, here's the route we took, that kind of a thing. And then there are a few drawings by a different person. Let's have a look. So the expedition photographer was a guy named Frank Hurley, and that's where most of these photographs come from. And I just want to show you how many photographs there are. Each one set as a separate, as a plate in the text. So this is, mind you, a 350 page or so book. And we've got all these illustrations. Plus these few images that are integrated in the text as well. So the illustrations that were sort of hand-drawn or painted are by George Marson. Yeah, you know, when you're reading through this, every several pages you get to another couple of photographs. The story itself is an incredible one. They had intended to make landfall and then camp over the winter, and then starting the spring, start their trek across Antarctica. Here's a little sketch. Instead, the ship was beset in the ice. It was trapped in an ice floe, basically, before they ever made landfall. If you recognize that photo, it's because it's the one used on the front of the book. It was trapped in the ice and it couldn't move. And eventually it was crushed by the ice. And so they had to make camp on the ice floe itself. This is a floating piece of ice that occasionally broke up underneath them. And, you know, then they'd have to get to a smaller piece of ice and try to make camp there. And they had no control over where this ice was going. And they had 3 small boats, but they couldn't really use the boats because there was too much ice around. Anyway, eventually the thing floated north enough and out of the ice enough that they could use those 3 boats to get to a small island. And that wasn't the end of their troubles because no one knew that they were there. So then a few of them took a boat and went, hundreds of miles to another island where they had to trek across the island. It's just an incredible story. And then there was one attempt to go back to save the original men, and then that failed. And then there was a second attempt and a third attempt. And anyway, finally, the 4th attempt, they were able to get everyone, and everyone survived. Everyone survived this ordeal, which is lovingly told by Shackleton himself, along with lots of bits of diaries of the other men who were on the trip. He would say something like, well, I was trying to do this. I was trying to accomplish this. I think I did well. Here's what this guy's diary says. And then he would put in something of the diary. Just packed with photos. And it also comes with this little map. Now, it doesn't look like much of a map because it's mostly ice and water, and there's not a lot of features you can put there. But what it does show is the route that they take. Here's the, whether it's on the ship itself, or it tells you the dates there where they were, longitude and latitude of a date, and then when the Endurance got stuck in the ice, and then the ice flow sort of was here on this day and here on this day as it sort of generally floated north and a little bit west. And then here's where the Endurance was absolutely crushed by the ice, and then they followed, and then they landed on Elephant Island, and then some of them sailed across to Shackleton, and a few others sailed across to South George Island to try to get help. Anyway, it's kind of cool to read along in the book and then check the map, or the opposite. I'll check the map and I say, oh, well, I know on that date, that's when this is going to happen. And so as the book progresses, it says, well, on this date, this, and on this date, this. And I go, oh no, it's getting close. It's getting close. The ship's going to get stuck in the ice. It's funny reading it because I'm going, well, come on, guys. I hope it works out for you, even though I know it's not going to work out for them. Or when things are the worst, and and it looks terrible, I know they're all going to survive. So it's kind of interesting knowing what's going to happen. My quibble with this map is that the writing is very, very small, way too small for my eyes. I mean, I don't have terrible eyes, but so I usually have to break out a magnifying glass when I want to look at the map. All right, and then it comes with this slipcover. Maybe we should call it a case. Which is cloth bound, a kind of a nice soft cloth, and has this Shackleton's Antarctica. That's not the name of any book, but that's because it's combining these 2 books together. South and another one, which I'll do a different video on. What's kind of cool, I think it's cool to have a cloth-bound box that holds them. But on the inside, it has an image of the Endurance. Hopefully you can see that. So there we have it. South by Ernest Shackleton in a production by the Folio Society.